Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Yu.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And as a reminder, we are Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This podcast is just one of the things we do, so thank you for joining us here. You can subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on our upcoming topics or any announcements that we may have. You can rate us, you can write a comment, you can do all the things that you can do with other podcasts, but you know, this is one that you actually like. Mm-hmm. So, you know,
Wow.
If you'd rather DM us, you can. We love getting your questions, your topic suggestions. We also just love updates. Sometimes people just tell us about what's going on in their writing life, and it's just great to keep in contact with you and hear your success stories. So that's always fun too. And you can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I'm Story Thursday on Instagram and Tasha 3.0 on Twitter and Blue Sky.
I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram, Joshua Hallman on X.
Damien is very active tonight, so if you hear him
Damien.
above,
Little child running around.
it sounds like thunder. It's just Damien.
Have you met Damien yet?
I've seen who I believe to be Damien.
Yeah.
What a cutie. Just so cute.
Did you wave at him?
I glared at him. He knows what he did.
I feel like Damien's going to have the last laugh in this one.
Oh, 100%.
There's nothing you can do to a child.
Nope. Yeah. He's living his best life.
As a reminder, Damien is the child running above Tasha at all hours of the day, evening. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Tasha.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, number one.
Thank you.
Number two, do you have any This Week's in Writings? Are we just jumping into things?
We've got This Week's in Writings. We got to talk about some things.
Yeah, let's do it.
This Week in Writing.
This is what I've been dying to talk about.
Yeah.
And I haven't even told you about this. I just told you that I need to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I think I know what it is.
Okay. This is the agent one. So, okay, I've been talking to a novelist, and she was telling me casually how she got her agent and published her book. And you guys, what are we doing? We should be writing novels. It is the most absurd thing. Okay, we have hours and hours of content about how to get an agent, what it all means, and also hours of content about, like, it's okay, like, anxiety is just a part of the process. All these things to just help support you in getting an agent, because it's fucking hard, and it is a huge part of our industry. You know how a novelist gets an agent?
Magic?
Yes.
What?
They write a book. They go online and they simply look, did I write a fantasy book? Who are the fantasy agents out there? There's a list of fantasy agents, people who rep other writers in your genre. Okay, I go on that list and I simply fucking email them. That is it. Now,
Really?
This person, when you click on their name at the company, they may say, like, I'd love like a paragraph about you and the first 10 pages, or just a log line of the book that you have, whatever. Regardless, it is an email process. It is a click on this person's name and email them my shit. And they say yes or they say no. It is extremely civilized. And it is not about meeting you and doing the rounds and are you at a certain level. It's, is your book good? And did you click on my name? That's it.
This sounds like such a thing in the novel world and industry. Just kick back by a fireplace, open up a book and read. Hey, maybe I'll get an agent. Just look them up online. Here's my thing. I don't know how I feel about it.
You like the hustle. You
I kind
are
of do.
a masochist.
I know. I would like, if I could do that, I'd be like, why is this so easy? This is weird. This must not be legit. There's something wrong with me. That's how beaten down I am from the entertainment industry.
The more this woman talks about her industry, the more I'm like, what am I doing? Every single part of her process is easier.
You know how people will say to you, like, oh my God, I can't imagine sitting down writing a screenplay. It just takes so long. That's how I feel about novelists. When I'm like, how do you write a novel? I can't even keep track of 120-page screenplay. Like, once we hit 130, I'm like, This is blowing this up and making this into a miniseries.
Yeah, as soon as you start talking to me in words that you've written, I'm out. I don't know what that means. Can't wrap my mind around it.
Yeah. I don't know. But that's pretty incredible. And she got her agent that way.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'm just going to look this up when we're done and just ask about the internet. How do I get an agent? See if I can just find one, just to find out. We should get one online. Or, excuse me, we should get one on the podcast. Have an agent come on. Yeah, have him come on here and ask why they're so easy to get in contact with.
I'll ask. I'll ask someone from my agency to come on.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if that was us. Imagine all we had to do was write a really good script. And we just went to CAA and we looked up who works in that genre and we just emailed them.
So you're telling me right now at CAA, there is an email online of this person who you can send your novel to?
Yeah, apparently. And they'll read it. That's the kicker.
Holy shit.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So it sounds great. And every time I talk about our process, she's like, well, I'm so glad I don't write movies. So if I start talking about writing novels, guys, this is my origin story.
Yeah, that'll be great. I can't wait to... although I think you should write a novel, it'll just be so hard to read.
You don't want to put in that time at writers group.
I don't know, man. I'm already reading a couple things. All right.
What do you got?
Okay. This is for you. This is a little game.
Oh, no.
It's called Are You Excited? Tasha.
Yeah.
I'm about to list off. We were talking about this, about the movies that are coming out in 2025. Mm-hmm. I think we were going to talk more about this, but then we got off track. So I started to look this up, and I got really excited for a lot of these movies. So I just wanted to do a little rapid fire with you, see how you feel about some of these, because let me tell you, I got excited.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Avatar 3.
No.
Snow White.
No.
Thunderbolts.
Yes.
Lilo and Stitch.
Duh.
Jurassic World Rebirth.
This is the Scarlett Johansson one?
You're damn right.
Okay, yes, definitely.
The new Tron.
I didn't know there was a neutron, so
You
yes.
do now. How to Train Your Dragon.
Mixed. This is someone who has a tattoo of How to Train Your Dragon. Mixed.
Yeah, I know. I actually think it's going to be so good. Okay. I don't know if you even knew this was coming out. Nobody 2.
What?
Did
It's
you know
already
that?
coming out this year?
2025, yeah.
I knew it was in the works. I didn't know it was this year.
Yeah. You ready? So that's a yes. Excited.
I mean, duh, I'll be there instantly. I'm nervous.
Really?
I'm nervous.
Sequels.
Okay.
The new Fantastic Four.
Mixed. Sure.
Freakier Friday.
I didn't see the first one.
Are you ready for this next one? Now You See Me. There's a new one.
There is.
I'm so excited. Are you?
No comment.
Elio.
What's this one?
Don't even know what that is. It's a Pixar movie.
Yes. No, I'm not that excited about it.
The Minecraft movie.
No.
Okay, we're almost done. Have you heard of Animal Friends with Ryan Reynolds?
No.
Animal Friends with Ryan Reynolds.
No, mixed because it's Ryan Reynolds.
And the last one, Zootopia 2.
Oh my God, that's the first one. That's coming out in December?
I don't know.
Oh
It's
my
just coming out.
God, that's going to be amazing.
I should have taken a tally. That, of course, is not all of the movies. Those were just some that I got pretty excited about.
Yeah.
You're not excited for the new Avatar?
No.
Wow.
No.
Oh, and Wicked. The new Wicked.
Okay. I didn't see it 3 times like you, but I will definitely see it.
Okay. Do you have another one that's actually of substance?
Yes, I do. I would like to talk about, I know you're prepared to talk about this, Heat. Can we talk about that?
Let's go.
Okay, listen. Was it Paul who did this, who started us on this path?
It was
Paul, my
Paul.
husband, sent Josh and I think it's an Instagram something, that was like a stitch, where someone talks over washing. Anyways, this random dude who I've never heard of was like, did you know that Heat, which is a super famous movie, starring Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and the scene that they have at that dinner table is like one of the greatest scenes ever in cinema, and I try to replicate it and can never. Heat is actually derivative. It comes from an earlier movie with the exact same dialogue and script. That scene is in this movie called LA Takedown.
Yeah.
You didn't know this, did you? Did you know this?
I did. Right before when I didn't know. Okay, here's the thing. I think I have heard this before, and for some reason this is like when you take the Limitless pill, and you forget things, and you take the pill, and all of a sudden you remember everything you've once heard. I think I once heard this about Heat, but I didn't know to the extent of what it is, and I did a little deep dive here and some research.
Tell me. Talk to me.
You ready?
I don't know.
LA Takedown, also called LA Crime Wave, also called Made in LA, is a 1989 American crime action film written and directed by Michael Mann. Originally filmed as a pilot for NBC, the project was reworked and aired as a standalone TV film after the series was not picked up. The film was later released on VHS and DVD. Number one, how do you feel about that?
I find it so interesting because I think we as writers tend to glorify other writers and other films that we see as being like strikes of genius. Like that, like Michael Mann is just a genius to come up with that exact thing with those exact stars and to do what he did with that movie Heat.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, he's just like everybody else in that there was a development process that was whack. Like 100%. I have movies that were once pilots and vice versa. It's okay. Sorry.
This is perfect. This is tying into exactly what I think you're saying. So let me say this part and then you can keep going. After directing The Last of the Mohicans, Mann decided to remake LA Takedown into a wide release cinema feature. He viewed the film as a dry run for the original story, which was a complex, multi-layered crime drama edited out of the script for the television film. He consulted a longer 1986 draft to work on the remake. Having made LA Takedown, Mann felt that he had a much better idea of how he wanted to structure the remake, saying, I charted the film out like a 2-hour and 45 piece of music, so I know where I could smooth it out, where it should not be smooth, where to have a pulse like a heartbeat.
I love when filmmakers think of something in musical terms. I took a class once, and I hate saying it that way, but I did. And it was the first time someone opened my eyes to how musical or just how rhythmic film can be, and TV, of course. And it really changed my outlook on how to create things.
Yeah.
You can feel it, man.
So you took a musical class and you don't like Wicked?
It wasn't a musical class, technically. I liked Wicked.
Okay. So what I love about this is because I think this is the dream what Michael Mann did.
Yeah.
He made something that probably wasn't what he wanted it to be. And then he got to a point in his career where he could say, I'm going to do that exact same thing, but just different.
And nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
Because it was like released in like Germany, and it was like released in Europe. It never really came here. So he fooled all of us.
It's amazing.
It's a con job, which is fitting.
And then the last thing I'll say is, so what you were saying, there was the side-by-side version of the two scenes with Pacino and De Niro and the two actors from LA Takedown. And the acting, you just realize how incredible of an actors De Niro and Pacino are by watching it, because, I mean, it's night and day. I know no disrespect to the other actors in it, but it was just like, like, this is one of the most iconic scenes in cinema. Like, this is it.
Yeah. It does go to show how much your words almost don't matter in the hands of really good actors. They will make it work. And it's humbling.
I thought about that. The idea that these are the exact same words, shot, by the way, the exact same framing and everything, And one version is just incredible, and the other one is kind of like not incredible.
Almost laughable. Some of the lines are like over the top. You're like, what? And then De Niro says it, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
We'll repost that so that people can see what the hell we're talking about. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, real topic.
Sure.
Okay. Today we're talking about outlines. And this is because I had a very interesting conversation with some writers this week about whether they outline and why, and pluses and minuses about it. And I just thought it bore talking about.
Yeah. We've talked about it before, but this topic always comes back up. And I think it's safe to say everyone kind of has a different way that they approach this. And I think my outlining has evolved, actually.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Oh, and I'm happy you asked. Thanks. When I did outline, I used to just write down in a document, beat by beat, not beat by beat, kind of like general ideas of what was happening.
Like paragraphs or bullet points?
Paragraphs with bullet points.
Oh, combo.
A big combo. And then that kind of evolved where it was a little bit more specific. And then those paragraphs would be kind of like scenes. That even has evolved into, and you might have actually been the one to put me on this path, I can't remember, where I outline in a document and then I transfer that to my final draft. Mm-hmm. And so final draft will be an outline essentially. So when you're reading through it, you can kind of write the scene because you're looking at your outline and you know what is happening after that rather than going back and forth document to document. That is my new outlining. Just the bolts of the nuts and bolts of it. It's just kind of transferring everything into final draft.
So you're almost like revising something that's already there. You don't have two documents open. You don't open a final draft and it's a blank page anymore.
Not anymore, Tasha.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big. That's a big shift.
What's so crazy is that blank first page is still as daunting in an outline form as it is when you're just writing. There's nothing scarier than that.
Create something out of nothing is not easy.
No. You give birth on a page.
Yeah.
Has your outlining changed?
You know, it changes so much. And I think it will just continue to change. This week I'm writing a bunch of different outlines actually. And one is in final draft. And it is more like a TV outline, meaning it's every single scene and what's happening in every single scene.
Yeah.
Which will definitely make the script writing process so much easier. But it is a lot of work because so much is required to put an outline like this together. You're basically writing a version of the movie or a draft of the movie, as Josh is talking about, but in outline form. And that's something I learned to do in TV, where you move at a much faster pace. And because you've broken an episode in the writer's room where you have literally every single scene sort of on the board in front of you already, you can do a literal scene by scene breakdown as your outline because it's already there. There's a version of that already there for you. However, this version that I'm doing in final draft, I think is doable because before this I had a bullet pointed outline, which I don't remember if you read, Josh, but is a bullet pointed outline of basically what happens in Act 1, 2, and 3. And it was still pretty detailed, but it was more like, 8 pages. This one is like 45 pages that I'm doing. And so that's one version of an outline. And another outline that I'm actually doing in Milanote, which is one of our favorite programs we talk a lot about on this podcast. And the reason why I'm doing that, it's this book that I am adapting, is because I knew that as I was getting in there, I would probably need to move scenes around. Like once I actually got into it, I'd probably be like, that's probably happening too late. I got to move that. And Milanote makes it so easy to just literally drag and drop things. So I'm doing it in there because I can see it in that way better. But I am an outliner, and I didn't used to be.
I wanted to talk about kind of like the pros and cons of outlining. Did you not used to be because you just wanted to get in and start writing because you had the idea and you were feeling anxious and you wanted to get it down and just go?
Yes, it's a combo of that and also feeling that as soon as I outlined, the magic of the thing was taken out of it. And then I just didn't want to write it anymore. And I was talking to another writer this week, one of these writers, about outlines, and she was saying she feels that so deeply that she refuses to outline. It just, because for her, so much of writing is discovery that if she's doing that, even in a 3-page outline, she said, like, even if it's small, why does she need to write the rest of it? For her, it's a book. Like, why would she want to write a book about this if she already figured it out on these 3 pages? So for her, it's so much. And I hear a lot of like really great screenwriters do this, and I want it. I want the time and space, I think, to do this, is to just know where you're beginning and know where you're ending. And that's what this novelist does. She's like, I know my premise, so I know my beginning and my concept, and then I know where I end. And I just know I need to somehow get there. You just sort of walk and you get there, and it's the fun of discovery along the way. So as a screenwriter, if you can have those 2 things, I loved that freedom to do that. I feel like I can't because of deadlines.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like if I ever skimp on an outline, it's only because I can have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's it. And it's so weird because I used to feel a little constricted with outlines because for the reason you were just explaining, where you don't really get to explore because your mind is already made up. Mm-hmm. And I think we just kind of found, we went through this with our script, is that we had an outline, we wrote that draft, and then we were like, we need to kind of change some things around. And then things got changed around, but I felt like the outline kind of gave us stability still. Yeah. Like that was still there no matter what. And it was kind of like something we could go back to, and that had some of the original ideas of theme and just things with characters. And so it is necessary, I think. But I could see the argument against it. I get it completely. Yeah. Everyone's different. Some people can just sit down and write. Yeah.
Some people can find it. I think if you have a really strong sense of structure and you're already a really good writer that way, like you can write a movie or write a pilot, and you know what that, like where a turning point should be and just like how the movie should look and feel. I trust you more to not outline, because I think you're going to be able to feel as you get in there and you're having fun, whether or not you're taking too much time here, whether or not it's slow, whether, that staccato thing that Michael Mann was talking about with how he feels the rhythm of the movie. Like, you're going to be able to feel that as you go. But for people who maybe are not as experienced, or that's just not their strong suit, I would worry about them not outlining, because then they could get lost in the weeds. But it really depends on your brain, honestly.
Another thing that I have found with outlining, it's easy to get kind of trapped in an outline. Like, I do think at some point you kind of have to, if maybe you can't figure out 2 or 3 scenes that lead up to your midpoint or whatever. And I personally believe it's like, if that's it, you can just write. Unless, I mean, of course, if you're writing this for yourself, but it is easy to kind of get caught in the loop of an outline. You're just trying to perfect it. And I think that you almost have to be somewhat aware of not perfecting an outline and just knowing that it could also change, much like a first draft of a script.
That brings me to my next point, because I do think that outlines for a writer and outlines for anyone else is a completely different topic. Because exactly as you're saying, an outline for a writer, if it was literally just for us as a jumping off point to the script, it can be way looser. You might not even have full, complete sentences. Like, it is exactly what it says. It is an outline. However, and oftentimes when you're writing for a job, you're getting paid to do something, an outline may be in your step, which means they're paying you for an outline. And an outline for someone who's not a writer is very, very different. It is so much more detailed. It is so much more professional looking. It is so smooth, and it has to solve a lot of problems, but also be vague enough where you're not in the weeds. It's basically like not, in many ways, it's not a helpful document for you. And that sucks about that process. And I've been going back and forth where for a while I was thinking, well, I'm going to write an outline for myself anyways. Might as well get paid for it. But then I realized, no, I'm doing so much extra work to write an outline that's readable from someone who is a producer with their producer hat on, that this is taking me away from A, the fun of writing, but B, the actual real script that I'm going to be writing. So that's also something to think about when you're outlining, when you're doing your deals. Yeah, they're two different things.
Have you met anybody who has a conviction to their outlining? Like, this is it. This is how it's done. This is what works. And this is what you should be doing.
I've never met someone who was so sure that their way worked for everybody. However, just this week in talking about it, one of the writers was so sure that outlining was something you had to do. And this is a very well-produced screenwriter. He was like, if people tell me that they don't like outlining, I just tell them they're doing it wrong.
Wow.
So he is such a proponent of it that, that he clearly thinks there's a right way and a wrong way. So then take that as you will.
I forgot to mention one thing in my outlining process.
Mm-hmm.
I still do note cards on a whiteboard. I love it. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah. Every time. Like before your outline, before you copy paste it into final draft.
Yeah. Part of me, there's something about it. Like right now to my left, I have something on a whiteboard with note cards. We had it with our script. There's something about it that I just like to see and just look at directly in front of you. I don't know. It's like a security blanket. I can't explain it.
It's magical. I'll say that this writer's room that I'm in right now, for the longest time, we're just talking back and forth about things, and all the creative stuff just felt very nebulous. We couldn't really decide on anything. Literally, as soon as we started using a whiteboard, we made so much progress. And we weren't even putting scenes down, but it was just like, okay, let's make a list. If it's titles, let's just make a list of titles. Put bad ones on there. That's fine. Doesn't matter. If we're building a world, just put things on there. And then suddenly you can say yes and no to things on a board in a very physical way. And then you start narrowing. So if you guys don't have a whiteboard, just get like a small one, or something I used to do, because whiteboards are really expensive, is I would get a big, one of those pads for drawing. Those, they have like the green cover, the big spiral notepads with tons of pages that you can just like take up half your desk. No, it's for drawing. So there's no lines or anything. It's
that flip.
Yeah.
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know. Someone's going to be like,
writer, not artist.
Like a sketch pad?
Sketch pad. Yes,
Is that it?
exactly.
Okay.
Get a huge sketch pad, and that can serve as your whiteboard. Also, I would just like tape things to my wall. Just like index cards or sheets of paper. Because visualizing is so important.
I once taped a whole bunch of not whiteboards, geez. I taped a whole bunch of note cards to my wall. And I had them up there for like months, and I felt so amazing. I was like, this is the way. Mm-hmm. And then I had to pull off the index cards, and it like peeled the paint off of my wall. It's like one of my first apartments. I remember thinking like, damn. It was just all these little like
every time
specks on the wall. It was terrible. Yeah, I love note cards, and I love whiteboards.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah. Interestingly, another story that a writer has told me before was that they did have an outline in their deal as their first step, and they were working so hard. I don't think they were outliners in particular for themselves. So like this was an extra step that they were clearly doing just because it was a job. And they said it took so long for them to do the outline that they didn't get, like they got fired basically because they couldn't deliver the outline because it wasn't something they did, and it was very unnatural to them to like do it that way, which is by the way, a completely valid thing to say. If you have that in your deal and you don't outline and you don't know how to outline and you think this will happen to you, it's worth suggesting no outline as a step, I think.
Let me ask you, when you think of, or when you do outlining, when you think of someone sending you an outline, do you think you're going to get it with slug lines, paragraphs, bullet points? Like, what do you envision an outline as?
I envision outline being Act 1, and then here's some bullet points. Act 2, here's some bullet points. Act 3, here's some bullet points. And maybe somewhere in there, like in the middle of Act 2, might be like midpoint, just so like you're flagging those turning points for me. But
Set piece.
that's usually my starting point. If I'm doing
Yeah.
it for myself, that's usually it.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know, Josh. Like I've had many specs where I go and I do that. I go by writers group and you guys are like, yes, good, go to script. I go to script and I flounder. Like I can't get it done or it's not coming together. And I mean, maybe it's just a matter of continually churning this thing out until I do find what the story is about, because I do think you will eventually find it. But for screenwriting, I don't know. A book, you imagine it's going to take you 2 years to write a book. A screenplay, you got to like churn those out quickly to progress your career.
I don't want to say this is the theme, but saying what is your screenplay about is so important, probably the most important thing, because to me at least, because for the reason you just said, if you know what you're writing about, I think you can kind of work through those scenes. But it's very easy to have a very great idea, but not really know what you're writing about. And you're just kind of like, all right, this is a cool monster movie, but it's like, but what's the point of this? And you kind of need that emotional perspective when you're writing, and you need to know why you're writing and what it's about. Is it about divorce? Is the monster that's what I think. I think you can get through and you can kind of skip parts of an outline a lot easier if you have those things down.
I think that's brilliant and so true.
Oh, all right.
I didn't have a big enough why.
Just
I
have a why.
deserve what happened to me. That's what I got out of what Josh said.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's outline. That's just sort of what conversations I was having with other writers this week about outlining. If you guys want to talk in more detail about outlining, like how to outline, how Josh and I outline, how other writers outline, I'm happy to dive into those specifics, I think, and like ask around Josh, like how I call you Josh, how other writers do it, because everyone is different, and that's what's so hard and interesting about our job is everyone's brains are so different. It's cool to see how everyone does it.
I love it. By the way, there is so much that I agree with when someone says, I just need to write and I'll figure out the characters as I go.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I also understand the exact other side of that.
Yep.
It's really crazy.
And also depends per project, I think, just where you're at and how you feel about it. Which is also why it's hard to say, like, everyone should outline every time. So, I don't know if that's true.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Great.
Quote of the day. The scariest moment is always just before you start. Stephen King. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter, and Blue Sky at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on X, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act 2 podcast is a production of Act 2, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode is edited by Paul Lundquist.